The deep silence of space was broken only by the gentle hum of the Aurora's engines as the research vessel glided through an unexplored sector of the Carina Nebula. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling cosmic gases that painted the void in brilliant shades of purple and blue. After 6 months of routine survey work, the Aurora's mission had been largely uneventful. Until now. Dr. Chen. Captain Maya Rodriguez's voice came through the ship's comm system. We're picking up some unusual energy readings. You might want to see this. Sarah made her way to the bridge, where the ship's small crew of 12 had gathered around the main sensor display. The holographic readout showed a pulsing signature unlike anything they'd encountered before. Captain Rodriguez, a veteran of deep space exploration, with weathered features and silver-streaked hair, pointed to the anomaly's location. It's about 3 light minutes from our position, she explained. The energy pattern doesn't match any known natural phenomenon in our database. Dr. James Walker, the ship's physicist, leaned forward to study the readings more closely. These oscillations, they're too regular to be natural. This has to be artificial. Sarah felt her heart rate quicken. The Aurora was far beyond the boundaries of mapped space. If this was artificial, it meant they'd just made first contact with an alien civilization, or at least their technology. Should we approach? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. This was exactly the kind of discovery they'd been sent to find. Captain Rodriguez nodded. Helm, take us in. But slowly. Let's not make any assumptions about what we're dealing with. As the Aurora drew closer, the object came into view. It was a dark, metallic structure about the size of a small shuttle, its surface etched with intricate geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. It hung motionless against the backdrop of the nebula, as if waiting. No signs of active power sources, Lieutenant David Kim reported from the engineering station. But these readings suggest it's composed of materials we've never encountered before. Sarah pulled up the detailed scan results on her tablet. The object's composition defied their analysis tools, and its purpose remained a mystery. But what caught her attention was the way it seemed to respond to their presence. The patterns on its surface began to pulse with a faint blue light, growing stronger as they approached. Captain, Sarah said, her voice tight with excitement and apprehension. I think it's reacting to us. Before Captain Rodriguez could respond, a beam of energy shot out from the object, bathing the Aurora in a soft blue glow. The ship's systems flickered momentarily, but otherwise remained unchanged. All systems normal, Lieutenant Kim reported, though his fingers flew across his console, running diagnostics. Whatever that was, it wasn't hostile. Sarah studied the new data flooding her screen. It looks like it was scanning us, and now it's transmitting something. The bridge crew watched in amazement as streams of data began flowing into their computers. It wasn't like any language or code they'd ever encountered, but there was a clear pattern to it, a logic they could begin to understand. It's not just data, Dr. Walker said, his eyes wide as he analyzed the transmission. These are instructions, engineering principles, scientific concepts, some of which are far beyond our current understanding. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. They'd just been given access to technology that could advance human civilization by centuries. But as she studied the data more closely, she realized something else, something that made her blood run cold. These instructions, she said slowly, they're specifically adapted for human biology and technology. This wasn't a random encounter. Whatever created this artifact, they were waiting for us. Captain Rodriguez was about to order a more detailed scan when the ship's proximity alerts suddenly blared to life. Multiple objects had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel nearby. Massive ships, their designs as alien as they were threatening. A new transmission cut through their communication system, this one harsh and demanding. The language was unknown, but the tone was universal. They were in trouble. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL, Lieutenant Kim reported, his voice tense. Their weapons are powered up, and their locks on our position. Sarah looked at the artifact, its surface now pulsing rapidly with that ethereal blue light. They'd found something extraordinary, but they weren't the only ones interested in it. As the alien ships moved to surround them, she realized their discovery might have just started something much bigger than they'd imagined. The Aurora's first contact had just become a first conflict, and humanity's place in the galaxy was about to change forever. Evasive maneuvers. Captain Rodriguez's command cut through the tension on the Aurora's bridge. The research vessel wasn't built for combat, but its smaller size and advanced propulsion systems gave it one advantage: speed. The massive alien ships loomed over them, their hull designs aggressive and angular, bristling with weapons that made Earth's most advanced military vessels look primitive in comparison. The Universal Translator was still processing their language, but the intent was clear enough from their actions. "They're charging weapons," Lieutenant Kim reported, his fingers dancing across the engineering console. "Shield strength at maximum, but they won't hold against that kind of firepower." Sarah Chen clutched her tablet, still downloading data from the artifact. The artifact's energy signature is increasing. Whatever it is, they want it badly enough to kill for it. Captain Rodriguez's mind raced through their options. The Aurora couldn't fight, but maybe they didn't have to. Navigation. Plot a course through the nebula. Those gases should interfere with their targeting systems. The Aurora's engines flared to life, and the ship dove into the swirling purple clouds of the Carina Nebula. Behind them, the alien vessels opened fire, their energy weapons cutting brilliant paths through the cosmic gases. "They're calling themselves the Dominion," Dr. Walker announced, working with the translator. "They're saying, we're in violation of their space and in possession of restricted technology. They're demanding immediate surrender." Restricted technology. Sarah's eyes widened as she studied the artifact's data. This isn't just advanced science. The artifact is showing us how to manipulate quantum fields in ways that shouldn't be possible. They're not trying to protect their territory. They're trying to maintain technological superiority. The ship shuddered as a glancing blow struck their shields. Warning lights flashed across every console as systems strained under the assault. But Captain Rodriguez had flown rescue missions through asteroid fields and solar storms. She wasn't about to let some alien empire take her ship. "Reroute power from non-essential systems to the engines," she ordered, "and get that artifact secured in the research bay. If they want it so badly, there must be more to it than we're seeing." The Aurora weaved through the nebula's dense clouds, using the natural phenomenon as cover. The Dominion ships were powerful, but their size made them less maneuverable. They couldn't match the human vessel's agility in the treacherous conditions. Sarah worked frantically with Dr. Walker, analyzing the artifact's transmissions. These quantum principles, they're not just theoretical. The artifact is showing us how to apply them. But it's strange. The instructions seem specifically designed for human neural patterns, as if it was meant for us to find. Another blast rocked the ship. "Shields at 40%, Kim reported. "We can't take much more of this." "Wait," Sarah called out, her eyes fixed on her screen. "The artifact's not just giving us scientific data. It's giving us coordinates, specific points in space where the quantum fields are naturally aligned. We could use them too." A massive explosion cut her off as one of the Dominion's shots found its mark. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems began to fail. "Direct hit," Kim shouted. "Port engine is down. Shields critical." Captain Rodriguez gripped her chair as the ship lurched. "Give me options, people. We're not surrendering to these bullies." Sarah's fingers flew across her console, correlating the artifact's data with their star charts. "There, 3 light years from here, a point where the quantum fields naturally converge. If we can reach it, we might be able to use the artifact's principles too. Well, I'm not sure what will happen, but it's got to be better than capture." Rodriguez didn't hesitate. "Plot the course. All power to the remaining engine. We only need to get there in one piece." The Aurora changed course. its damaged engine straining as it pushed through space. The Dominion ships followed, their weapons continuing to fill the void with deadly energy. But something had changed. They were being more cautious now, as if afraid of damaging the artifact. "They're sending another message," Walker reported. "They're saying, 'We don't understand what we're dealing with. That humans are too primitive to handle this technology.'" His voice hardened. "They're calling us children playing with fire." Captain Rodriguez allowed herself a grim smile. "Well then, let's show them how dangerous children can be. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're about to prove just how primitive we aren't." As the Aurora raced toward the coordinates, the artifact's pulsing grew stronger, synchronizing with the ship's systems in ways their instruments couldn't explain. They were running on backup power, their shields were failing, and the galaxy's most powerful empire was hunting them down. But Sarah felt a strange sense of certainty as she watched the quantum field readings spike on her display. The artifact hadn't chosen them by accident. Whatever happened next would change everything, not just for the Aurora's crew, but for all of humanity. The Aurora drifted in the shadow of a massive gas giant, its systems powered down to minimal levels. They'd managed to lose the Dominion fleet through a series of desperate maneuvers, but Captain Rodriguez knew it was only temporary. Their pursuers would find them eventually. In the research bay, Sarah Chen stared at the artifact, its surface now covered in shifting patterns of blue and gold. The quantum coordinates had led them here, to this seemingly empty system, but the artifact's behavior had changed dramatically since their arrival. "Look at this," Dr. Walker said, pointing to his neural scan results. "The artifact's quantum field is synchronizing with human brain patterns. It's not just giving us information anymore. It's trying to establish a direct connection." Sarah studied the data, her exhaustion forgotten in the face of this discovery. The patterns match human neural architecture almost perfectly. This can't be coincidence. But why us? Why humans specifically? Captain Rodriguez entered the research bay, her uniform showing signs of their recent ordeal. "Whatever the reason, we need to figure it out fast. The Dominion will have patrols searching every system in this sector. We're running out of time." "There's something else," Lieutenant Kim called from his workstation. "The artifact's energy signature. It's affecting our technology in ways we didn't notice before. Our systems are becoming more efficient, adapting to work with the quantum principles it's teaching us." Sarah moved to examine Kim's readings, her eyes widening. "It's not just teaching us, it's upgrading us. The quantum fields are enhancing our existing technology, making improvements our engineers would have needed decades to develop." "But why didn't it affect the Dominion ships the same way?" Rodriguez asked, voicing the question they'd all been wondering. Dr. Walker's expression lit up with sudden understanding. "Because they're too advanced. Their technology is already so sophisticated that it can't adapt the way ours can. Our primitive systems are actually more flexible, more capable of incorporating these quantum principles." Sarah felt a surge of excitement. "That's why it was meant for humans. We're at exactly the right stage of development, advanced enough to understand the principles, but not so advanced that we're locked into existing paradigms." The artifact pulsed brighter, as if responding to their realization. New data streamed across their screens, showing applications of quantum theory that went far beyond what they'd seen before. "These aren't just scientific principles," Sarah breathed. "They're weapons designs, defensive systems, things that could help us stand up to the Dominion." Captain Rodriguez studied the schematics with growing interest. "Can we implement any of this? Make the Aurora something more than a research vessel?" Kim ran quick calculations through the ship's computer. "With the artifact's help, yes. It's already interfacing with our systems. We'd need to reconfigure the power grid, but we could have basic quantum-enhanced weapons and shields within hours." "Do it," Rodriguez ordered, "but keep power levels minimal. We can't risk the Dominion detecting us before we're ready." As the crew worked to upgrade their systems, Sarah continued studying the artifact's transmissions. There was something else hidden in the data, something that spoke to humanity's unique place in the galaxy. "Captain," she called out suddenly, "I think I know why the artifact chose humans. Look at these psychological profiles it's been building. Our adaptability, our creativity in crisis, our willingness to challenge established powers. These aren't weaknesses like the Dominion believes. They're exactly what's needed to break their control over the galaxy." Rodriguez considered this. "You're saying we're not just random primitives who stumbled onto advanced technology. We're meant to be some kind of change agents." "More than that," Sarah replied. "The artifact isn't just giving us technology. It's giving us a chance to prove that technological superiority isn't everything. That sometimes the most primitive solution is exactly what's needed." The ship's sensors suddenly came alive with warnings. Multiple Dominion vessels had entered the system, beginning a systematic search pattern. "They're getting closer," Kim reported tensely. "The upgrades are only half complete." But Captain Rodriguez wasn't worried anymore. For the first time since this chase began, she felt a sense of certainty. "Let them come. They think we're primitives playing with technology we don't understand. It's time to show them just how wrong they are." Sarah watched as the artifact's glow intensified, its quantum fields now fully integrated with the Aurora's systems. They were about to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in their ability to adapt, to think differently, to challenge the established order. The hunt was about to become a battle, and the hunters were about to learn what happened when they cornered their prey. The Aurora hung in space, its newly upgraded systems humming with quantum energy. Through the bridge viewport, the crew could see 3 Dominion warships approaching, their massive forms eclipsing the distant stars. But where fear had once gripped them, there was now determination. "Quantum shields at full power," Lieutenant Kim reported, his fingers dancing across controls that had been transformed by the artifact's influence. "Weapons systems online and responding better than we could have imagined." Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display, noting how the Dominion ships moved with absolute precision, their formation perfect, too perfect. "They're so convinced of their superiority, they've become predictable. That's their weakness." "They're hailing us," Dr. Walker announced from the communication station. The universal translator had fully decoded their language now, revealing the arrogance in every word. "Primitive vessel." The Dominion commander's voice filled the bridge, dripping with contempt. "Your theft of restricted technology ends now. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Rodriguez exchanged glances with Sarah Chen, who nodded. They were ready. "This is Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Earth research vessel Aurora. We didn't steal anything. The artifact chose us, and we're about to show you why." She cut the communication and turned to her crew. "All hands, battle stations. Let's show these bullies what humanity can do." The Dominion ships opened fire, their energy weapons stretching across space like lightning. But when they struck the Aurora's shields, something unexpected happened. Instead of attempting to block the assault, the quantum-enhanced shields absorbed the energy, redirecting it through patterns that matched human neural architecture. "Shields holding at 90%. Kim shouted, amazement in his voice. "The quantum field is actually getting stronger with each hit." Sarah's eyes were fixed on her readings. "The artifact's principles. They're not just about technology. They're about adapting, about turning an enemy's strength against them, just like human martial arts." "Their weapons are useless against us," Dr. Walker added. "But that's not even the best part. Look at their ship's energy signatures." The tactical display showed what he meant. The Dominion vessels were broadcasting confusion, their perfect formation wavering as they faced something outside their experience. Their advanced technology, optimized over centuries, couldn't adapt to this new paradigm. "They're trying to recalibrate their weapons," Kim reported. "But their systems are too rigid. They can't adjust quickly enough." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "Then it's time to show them our solution. Target their primary power cores, not to destroy, but to disrupt. Let's use their own energy against them." The Aurora's quantum weapons came to life, firing beams that seemed to bend reality itself. They struck the Dominion ships with surgical precision, their energy cascading through the alien vessel's power systems in ways their designers had never anticipated. One by one, the massive warships began to lose power, their supposedly superior technology turned against them by principles they dismissed as primitive. Their perfect formation dissolved into chaos. They're not just failing, Sarah realized, watching the data stream across her screen. The quantum disruption is spreading through their neural networks. Every attempt they make to compensate just makes it worse. They're being undone by their own complexity. The Dominion commander's voice came through again, but this time the arrogance was gone, replaced by disbelief. How? This is impossible. You're nothing but primitives. You can't possibly understand. That's exactly why we can do this, Rodriguez interrupted. We're not bound by your assumptions. We don't have centuries of technological development telling us what's impossible. We see possibilities where you see only rules to be followed. The largest Dominion ship suddenly went dark, its power grid completely overwhelmed by the quantum cascade. The others began to retreat, their perfect formation now in shambles. They're sending out a distress signal, Walker reported. But it's not just calling for help. They're warning other ships to stay away. They're saying we have weapons they can't counter. Sarah checked her readings one final time. The artifact's quantum field is stable. We can replicate this effect as many times as we need to. We've done more than just survive, Captain. We've changed the game entirely. Rodriguez nodded, watching as the Dominion ships limped away. Send a message to Earth. Tell them humanity just took its first real step into the galaxy, and we did it not by copying advanced technology, but by being exactly who we are. The Aurora's crew cheered, but Sarah kept her eyes on the artifact, its surface now pulsing with a steady, confident light. They had proved themselves worthy of its gift, not by being the most advanced species, but by being the most adaptable. The Dominion's reign of technological superiority was over. A new era was beginning, one where humanity's greatest strengths would help reshape the galaxy. News of the Aurora's victory spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. The Dominion, for the first time in centuries, had been defeated, not by a superior force, but by a supposedly primitive species they had dismissed as insignificant. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The Aurora sat in orbit around a distant world, where representatives from a dozen subjugated species had gathered in secret. Captain Rodriguez stood before them in a makeshift conference room, with Sarah Chen and the artifact at her side. The quantum principles we discovered aren't just weapons, Sarah explained to the assembled aliens. They're tools for liberation. The Dominion's power comes from keeping advanced technology restricted, controlled. But this is different. These principles work better with simpler technology, with systems that can adapt and evolve. A tall crystalline being stepped forward, its translucent form shimmering with internal light. We have suffered under the Dominion's rule for generations, believing their technological superiority made them invincible. But you, humans, you showed us another way. Not just another way, Dr. Walker added, displaying holographic data from their encounters. A better way. The Dominion's technology is impressive, but it's rigid, inflexible. They've spent so long optimizing their systems that they've lost the ability to think differently. Lieutenant Kim brought up tactical displays showing the spraying rebellion. Every time they try to suppress this knowledge, it only spreads faster. Their own communication networks are working against them. The quantum principles we've discovered are being adapted by dozens of species, each finding their own unique applications. The artifact pulsed with approval, its surface showing patterns that matched the combined neural architectures of all species present. It had chosen humanity to start this revolution, but its gift was meant for all who dared to think differently. The Dominion is mobilizing their main fleet, Rodriguez reported grimly. They're preparing to crush this rebellion before it can spread further. But they don't understand. It's already too late. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. On countless worlds, oppressed species were discovering that their primitive technology, enhanced by the quantum principles, could stand against the Dominion's might. Each victory inspired more resistance, more innovation. "We've received a transmission from the Dominion High Command," Walker announced. "They're demanding we surrender the artifact and cease spreading what they call dangerous technological contamination." Rodriguez smiled. "Send them our response. Tell them humanity accepts their surrender." The conference room erupted in surprised murmurs, but Sarah understood. The Dominion's strength had become their weakness. Their vast fleet, their advanced weapons, their complex systems, all could be turned against them by the very principles they sought to suppress. "The age of technological suppression is over," Rodriguez declared to the assembled representatives. The Dominion built their empire on the belief that advancement only moves in one direction, toward more complexity, more control. We proved them wrong. Sometimes the most advanced solution is the simplest one. Sometimes progress means remembering what they forgot. The artifact's glow intensified, and new data streamed across their screens. It wasn't just technical specifications now, but a vision of the future. A galaxy where technology served all species, where innovation wasn't restricted but shared, where diversity of thought was celebrated rather than suppressed. "We didn't just find a new weapon," Sarah realized, watching the pattern shift. "We found a new way of thinking about progress itself." The Dominion's empire was built on the idea that some species were more worthy than others, that advancement only counted if it followed their rules. "We proved that every species has something unique to contribute." Reports continued to flood in. The Dominion's fleet was fragmenting, their perfect formations broken by weapons they couldn't understand, by strategies that defied their rigid tactical doctrines. Their empire, built on technological superiority, was being undone by the very species they had dismissed as primitive. "What happens now?" asked another representative, a being of pure energy contained within a simple mechanical shell. Rodriguez looked at her crew, then at the assembled aliens, seeing not primitive species but partners in a new age of exploration and discovery. "Now we build something better. Not an empire built on suppression and control, but an alliance founded on sharing knowledge, on celebrating our differences, on finding strength in diversity." The artifact's surface rippled with approval, its quantum field harmonizing with the combined hopes and dreams of all present. It had chosen humanity not to create a new empire, but to break the chains of the old one, to show the galaxy that true advancement came not from hoarding knowledge, but from sharing it. As the Aurora's crew looked out at the stars, they knew that everything had changed. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not by conquering or dominating, but by demonstrating a fundamental truth, that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in being the most advanced, but in being able to see possibilities where others see only limitations. The revolution wasn't just about technology anymore. It was about freedom. Freedom to think differently, to grow, to challenge the established order. And it had all started with a single human ship that dared to stand against an empire.